to start our technical video on brakes. And most of the brakes and the products that you see on this table today are currently used on a 69 black Stingray that you might be aware of or seen in our catalog or in Corvette magazines. It belongs to one of our technical guys and one of our good customers, Chris McDonald. Welcome aboard, Chris.
Thank you, Paul. Nice to be here.
Some of the things we want to talk about is our patented O-ring piston calipers. We make some of the finest calipers in the world. We use a 4-micron finished sleeve and a patented O-ring piston. This particular piston has an insulator on it for protecting the brake pad and dissipating a great deal of heat. We're going to move down the line, and I'll let Chris help me out a little bit here with some of the products he's actually used on his car.
Okay, Paul, thank you. Paul, these calipers are absolutely beautiful. This finish is durable. It looks great behind a set of nice rims, and it's so much better than spray paint. It doesn't flake off when the brake fluid leaks on it.
This particular powder coating system is done right here at VB&P, and it's offered in yellow, black, or red, and it does resist brake fluid and other hazards of the road. So this is definitely an upgrade of what you might want to think about when you purchase your brakes from us.
Absolutely. And Paul, whenever I'm installing brakes, I can't tell how many times I've used fingernails and screwdrivers and putty knives. This right here can save your day. You simply slip them in there, install your pads. Great addition, must-have part of your installation kit.
They are a must-have, and when you buy brakes from VBP, we include those in the package with you because you can't do the job without them. They're just a great thing.
And Paul, something else, these not only are fine looking, these are a wonderful addition to the car and to the brake job. They replace the old cracked, worn out rubber lines. They're nice looking, they have a nice swivel end on here. They work very, very well on the car. They fit very well. Paul, these right here, I really like these rotors. I like the look that they have on them, and installing them, the nice thing is they fit, they go right over the hub like they're supposed to go over. And to tell you the truth, I drive my car kind of hard, and I've never had a problem with warpage of my brake rotors.
Well, Chris could probably drive his car as hard as he wants with these particular rotors because these are cryogenically treated right here at VB&P. We also slot these rotors to remove any of the heat and the gases to give the rotor 3 times the life it would normally get.
And you know, Paul, these brake pads right here, so much better than what you get at the local auto parts store. I think that's a wonderful addition. They work really well with the entire set, right?
They work great, and I think you'll find that you will get 3 times the normal life that we would normally would on any brake system that you got.
Hi guys, I'm here with Danny from Research and Development. We're working on this 1969 Corvette. Danny's going to take the stock brake caliper off, remove the spindle assembly. That way we can get this replaced and reconditioned. Danny, if you can let us know what you're doing here.
Sure, Chris. And first, we're going to start with a 5/8 socket on a ratchet. Typically, you might want to use a 1/2-inch drive on this so you can get these bolts broke loose because they've probably been in there for a little while. And once you get these removed, you're going to want to take another 5/8 on a wrench. Actually, we'll leave this last bolt in first. Then we're going to pop our line loose here on the caliper with a 5/8 wrench.
And you have your handy catch can down here to catch the fluid.
And you're going to start by taking off the brake line at the frame because these lines do not have swivels on them. So when you go to screw it off at the caliper, all it's going to do is twist the line up if you don't have it off the frame first. What you're going to do is just pop our little clip off here. And you want to grab your pliers here. Pop the clip out. Take your vice grips on top. 5/8 wrench on the bottom.
And see, the bottom one's locked in the frame, and the top one loosens with the line. So the only swivel in it's the one that's on the hard line on the top.
That's correct, Chris. When we reinstall our lines back on, you'll see the value of the braided steel lines that have the swivels built into them just for this purpose. Now you can see that our hard line's off. Now we can take it off at the caliper with our 5/8 wrench here. See how easily this screws right on out. Just drop that right in the bucket since it's going to be full of fluid. Now we're going to take our caliper off and put it right in our drop box.
Now, Danny, I was noticing that on this rotor right here, you can see these rivet heads.
Yeah, back in the day, the factory riveted all these rotors onto these hubs. So we're going to have to send these out to be reconditioned over to the shop before we can actually reinstall our new rotor and hub assembly. And typically you have to drill these, and it takes quite a while when you're drilling these to cut this rivet head off, and then you got to pound it out, and usually by the time you do that you damage your hub. So my advice is just to send it off to the company, let them recondition your hubs, because they come in behind and they turn the face and reach through it after all those years of running and warping on the road with all the heat this thing has gone through. It's always just a good idea when you get your rotor hub assembly back on, running true, ready to go, no wobbles, no shakes, no shimmies. So we're going to go ahead and pull our hub assembly off. Just lightly tap it in behind that, work it out, you'll knock that hubcap right on off. So now we're going to take our flathead screwdriver, just pry gently that cotter key and kind of get it turned a little bit so we get a little play in it, like so. Take your side cutters, your good old wire cutters, grab here, push through, and just pull up. Doesn't get any easier than that. And this works for any cotter pin in the car, always gets the job done. Now we're going to take our vice grips, open them all the way up. Just clamp them on here. Just as easy as that. There's not much tension on these wheel bearings. Very touchy subject to set your wheel bearings. Chris can probably explain more about the tension these wheel bearings have to have on these.
Well, you need just enough tension to hold it up, to hold the bearings against the races, but not so much tension that you actually start to drive them into them to where they cause a groove or they overheat and damage themselves. So you're right, it's a matter of getting just the right amount of play in there.
That's where you see most of your common bearing failure. Street cars, race cars, any cars for that matter. If you bind the bearings up by putting too much tension on it, doesn't matter how good a grease you get in it, you're going to tear the bearing up. Now we have our complete hub assembly off.
Okay, we just put the new brake line on. Now, one important distinction about this stainless steel braided line is it does have this swivel end, and you'll see how handy that is in just a moment compared to the stock ones. Danny, I believe we're going to go ahead and put the hub on and assemble the rest of the brake assembly.
That's right, Chris. We're ready to, you always want to put extra grease on this. A lot of people's belief you almost can't have too much grease in this. Especially because since you know you just did it, it's going to be a while before you check it again. Okay, we're ready for our hub. Okay, you'll feel that rear bearing set into place. Now you just want to slide the inner one in. Okay, and your spindle washer, and the spindle nut. You can tell this is a good refurbished spindle. The threads have been tapped because this nut went on by hand all the way up. Whereas normally you have to fight with this thing. Spin the vice grips all the way up. I normally tighten it all the way up first. Then I'll go ahead and install the rotor.
Okay, here's our rotor. Okay, now we have the hub on, and we'll put the rotor over it, and Danny can go ahead and make some of the final adjustments before putting the caliper on.
So what you want to do is go ahead and usually you use a couple lug nuts. We just used a couple 1/2-inch fine thread nuts for ours for show's sake. Now we can go ahead and check play in the bearing. Right now it has no play at all. So you just want to back it off a little bit. You want to feel just a minimal amount of play. What do you think about that, Chris?
Feels pretty good, Danny.
All right, so now we just have to find our alignment hole. It looks like we're lined up pretty close. Stick your cotter key through, and there you go. All lined up. I usually grab the head of my wrench, just pull it around, tap it over. All right, paint a little more grease into your bearing cap, or dust cap. Tap it back over with your rubber hammer. You're all set.
Okay, it looks good. We're going to be using the 4-piston caliper with an O-ring seal, the